And this is hello and welcome to LB Presents. And this is Unite on Purpose. And today I'm going to be interviewing somebody that I met in Australia. And when I met this lady, she is the epitome of uniting on purpose and building a business around purpose. So why did I start the LB Presents Unite on Purpose program? Because I wanted to interview all these incredible people that I've been meeting since 2016 in my business school that were building businesses around the purpose. And my belief was that we could shift the world into a new era through the eyes of brands, through the eyes of these people, and create a purpose-led movement that would unite people all around the world to connect together, and so that they could learn together in an environment and be able to trade with each other then to impact change in the world. So I would like to welcome on my lovely friend and alumni of Bob, Danielle Chiel, and she is from Koco Global. Now, Koco is a hand-knitted manufacturing company, but I have to say it is much, much, much more than that. And before I reveal all the gold that sits with Danielle, let me say thank you so much, Danielle, for coming onto the show this morning. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on. And I have not seen you in person since I had you in my business school. When was that? Was that in 2017?
Yeah, it was a few years ago, Lindsay, and yes, good morning over there to the Northern Hemisphere.
And is it good afternoon or good evening with you?
It's 4:30 p.m. here.
So we're tipping on the early evening scenario. So Danielle, would you let everybody know what is Koco? What does Koco mean? How did you come up with the name, and how did you come up with the business in the first place?
The business part is easier to answer. It started actually from a very selfish point of view. I always loved colour and texture. I had a hand knit brand here in Australia, and the legislation changed, and the Prime Minister at the time made it not legal to employ contract workers in the fashion industry. And because I just changed career into this area, I didn't want to go back to my old career. I had to look to where else I could get the garments made. So that's how I actually started. I looked into various countries, and I've always been really lucky and met the right person at the right time. And somebody introduced me to somebody in India. I flew over, met these ladies who could already hand knit, but their version of hand knitting and my version of hand knitting are not on the same page. Well, they weren't. And that's how it started. And I met them and I just fell in love with them and quickly realized that I would just love to employ and give you ladies lots and lots of opportunities. And I realized that I couldn't do that from knitting for my own brand, that we had to knit for lots of brands to be able to scale. And so that's how that all started.
And so, look, I come from the fashion world. I mean, I spent 17 years building fashion brands before ever moving into this world 9 years ago. And so I have a huge affiliate passion, love for any fashion brand that comes my way. However, I have to say, Danielle, when I met you, you are a brand with a very big difference. First off, can you tell people the meaning of the word Koco? What does it mean?
Yeah, so Koco stands for knit one, garment, change one, life. And it started because we don't really fit into the box of any fashion manufacturing. We've carved out our own unique path. And it started because most manufacturing is done what I call by the conveyor belt methodology, where one person, I'll use the analogy in the fashion industry, one person does a sleeve, one person does a shoulder, one person does a seam. And so nobody actually owns anything. You're just part of society passing through. And whilst we all need to have clothes like that, we also all need to have clothes that make us feel special. And to make us feel special and to have clothes like that, When one person makes the whole garment, they feel special, and so do you. So we've set up this whole system where you can meet that person who's made the garment, and you feel special, because when most people have had their mother, grandmother, somebody hand knit them something, most people never would wear that garment in public. The color is disgusting, the fit is disgusting, but they wear it at home nevertheless because it feels great. So we've helped brands fill that niche of having that same great feeling, but it's a fashionable garment.
So interestingly, when I started in the fashion world, and I started at the age of 18, when I started in there, I mean, absolutely nobody at all was talking about anything really to do with sustainability or environmental or responsible manufacturing. And when I had my shoe brand in the early 90s, we manufactured our shoes in Korea, and Nike had to move their shoe manufacturing into our factory because they were using a sweatshop, and it was all over the news. And this was in the early 90s. It was really the time when purpose, when why are people creating things in those factories, started to really be questioned. And then I had a pleasure of working with a lady called Catherine Hamnett, who was very, very well known in the fashion world. And she was a bit of a rebel, a revolutionist. And she really stood for the farmers. And she had a T-shirt. She did all these slogan T-shirts. Kate Moss, Naomi Campbell, everybody wore them. She had them on the catwalk shows. And that was my first taste of a fashion person doing something like you're doing now. And so that was what I would say late 90s. And so I would love to know from you, what did you see as the journey to get to where you are today from an industry that is predominantly was not anymore, but was predominantly kind of a bit superficial in that regard, was very much about fast fashion, was, you had luxury brands, but it wasn't where it is today. And I'd love your take on that, because you work in the other side of fashion, which is what I would say.
Yes, and I guess the thing is, I don't come from a fashion industry background. So interestingly enough, because I was an outsider, I come with outside beliefs. And when I met these ladies and they had never been to school, one of the things that was super important, like there are two sides to the industry. Like, first of all, we had to be able to sell the products, and the brands needed to engage that they wanted something that was wholesome. And then there's the manufacturing part. But the manufacturing part was a no-brainer for me, because I'll use the analogy of going to school. Imagine doing a school assignment and only getting to the third page and never handing it in. Imagine doing a school assignment where everybody did a different page and nobody ever saw the end assignment. And that's what it's like in a conveyor belt mentality. So nobody actually ever takes responsibility. And so I quickly learned to grow these ladies' self-esteem if they've never been to school. That feeling of accomplishing a school assignment, you did the work yourself, you handed it in, you got marked and were appraised, and that's how you know, wow, I can do this. So I wanted to give those same ladies that feeling of I can do this. And as they got that feeling more and more, their skills grew more and more. And so for me, it went to the next level. It's like, wow, I work in India. You all know the name of the famous bowlers. You're a fabulous knitter. You girls are the world's best hand knitters now. Why don't we know your names? Like, this is a crying shame. Like, everybody knows the names of outstanding people in the industry. Why do you have to be faceless? Like, it's super important that we know who you are.
Oh gosh, I absolutely love that. I mean, as you know, I am all about creating the face of modern business. It's even on my wall, and the face of the modern world. And my belief has always been that everybody should be seen, heard, no matter where you live or the demographic that you live in. And what I love about what you've just said is that you're trying to create these heroes, showcase these incredible women and have them as gurus of their own field, and be able to really showcase these people that would never in a million years get seen without the help of yourself and your business. So I'm reading through your notes, and on something that you said we're changing the lives in rural villages in Tamil Nadu, India, by educating and employing women to hand knit. And so when I read that, I think to myself, gosh, you're actually kickstarting the economy as well over there. It's not just that you're doing a manufacturing business, but you're actually changing the lives of these people, and you're enabling them to have a profession, an entrepreneurial business, to be able to have something that would never exist before. Would you talk to me a bit about that?
We break the economic cycle of every village we go into. Before COVID, we had 5 villages. And because we employ so many ladies from a village, these people all, they get paid, they earn regular wages. And so these villages become what I call upwardly mobile. So instantly, these ladies are no different to you and I, Lindsay. So what do they do when they earn more money? They go out and buy a new sari. They want a new dress. They buy new jewelry. They don't wear lipstick, but they get more ring, whatever they call
their hair, yeah.
Their hair up with. They buy more what I call girl stuff, discretionary items. Their homes start to get more upwardly mobile. So instead of living in houses that have hardened mud floors and thatched roofs, they move to houses. They have tile floors, they have tile roofs, they take out loans because they can now show that they can pay stuff back. They have cement walls. Like, they actually move into houses that sometimes are fancier than what I've lived in comparison to where they are. So we break the economic cycle because everybody is there. And when they get these houses built, they have to employ painters, plumbers, electricians, like all the men start working in the village. So we break the economic cycle in every village. We break the education cycle in every village because all the children now of all the villages go to school, which these ladies never could do. They can't read or write or add up until we came along. So we break the education cycle. And because we promote from within, and God help them, the ladies end up with part of my personality, they learn very quickly to say, no, that is not okay. So we also break the domestic violence cycle because they learn to say to their husbands, just as I'm so strict with them at work, no, I'm really sorry, that's not okay. They learn to say that to their husbands. This is not okay. And so we've just made so many long-term impacts that I just never imagined that would happen along this journey. And so because of that, I've become a real advocate for artisan work.
And so, you're blown away, Danielle. You are a true inspiration. And what you are doing, this was when I met you, and it was a few years ago, and I sat with you in my business school, and we talked about, I remember it to this day, knitting the world together. And what if we could knit the world together, and we could do a campaign where everybody around the world could literally knit the world together and actually support not just 4 or 5 villages. What if we could support hundreds, thousands of villages by doing this and truly inspire people to make that change? And so I want to ask you my question that I ask to everyone. Danielle, would you share with us, what are you known for?
Currently, I'm probably known for hand knitting the world together, that expression I came up when you and I were working together, Lindsay. Yeah. But I'd actually like to shift that expression to giving artisans a voice. Because when we hand knit the world together, it's much more than hand knitting, because for me, the beauty lies both ways, for the wearer and the maker. So my aim is to have the wearer see the maker, because the wearer's lives change as well, because they actually feel connected with the maker. So it's an equal two-way street. So that's why I want to give the artisans a voice, because if you went and bought a painting tomorrow, unless you bought it from a chain store, a supermarket, it's signed. You know about that person.
Right.
And it's the same for our hand knitted garments. You're paying top dollar, it's signed, you know about that person. So I'd love the opportunity for the person who wears it to actually have a connection with that person and know that they helped that person, break all those cycles that I mentioned before, that they're really contributing a lot to that maker's life.
Oh gosh, Danielle, I love giving artisans a voice. I mean, that takes the whole thing up a level. And what I'm interested in is you talk about being a platform for artisans and being able to really embrace that from a cultural perspective, which is what you've just talked about with their lives and how they live and so forth, but also from a platform perspective of giving them a place to be seen and heard and so forth. I'm interested in knowing the future of Koco and wondering now about giving artisan a voice and what that might entail for you. Would there be a technology platform that you potentially could create? Is that something
Yes.
in your mind's eye?
Yes, that's in my mind. And I guess because this started, Lindsay, the transition started because of COVID, because actually there were 16 million people just in India alone who have no job because of COVID. So our ladies are in a very privileged position. We actually are very busy. The world actually wants that kind of garment. Whilst we don't have 5 villages, 3 of them are inaccessible because of COVID. The villages that are accessible, we're very, very busy. And once I heard that there were 16 million people, as I said, just in one country unemployed, let alone all the other developing countries, I wanted to change to giving artisans a voice so that we can offer other mediums as well. Crocheting, embroidery, the platform, the whole digital thing, the whole thing. So the vision is large, and yeah.
You can never have a large enough vision with me. You know that, Danielle.
Well, you've got competition now, Lindsay.
Okay, so I'm going to touch on that then. And you mentioned about COVID, which I know particularly for manufacturers, whether they're purpose-driven or not purpose-driven. I work with many different manufacturing companies because I come from manufacturing myself. I spent 9 years manufacturing my early career. And I have a huge passion for people that do manufacture, I have to say. How did COVID impact you? Because it's impacted a lot of the manufacturing industry. Could you talk to me about that?
Yes. Well, before COVID, we had somewhere between 200 and 250 staff, and now we have 20.
Yeah.
We had to close down from having 5 villages to what I call 2 half villages. And on any given day, if anybody in your street gets COVID, the whole street is locked down for 2 weeks. So we don't know who's going to show up for work. But the ladies actually love coming to work. So we're just fortunate. And the big brands, the big runway brands, all those wholesale brands, I doubt whether they'll be coming back to us because the pricing model has changed a lot. So we've launched, we're still knitting for brands who want to sell direct to the consumers without that wholesale model. And during COVID, I had to rack my brains of how to keep our ladies engaged. And because we are a certified B Corp business, no wastage, we have kept every thread that is longer than 15 centimetres since we started the business. So anybody who could come to work, I had them very busy. They knotted together all those ends, made these massive balls of scrap yarn. And we have launched our own scrap yarn range, which is a B2C brand. And nobody knows about it. I have no clue how to market it out there, but we have these fabulous scrap yarn jumpers waiting for somebody to want. And that's how we kept our ladies busy during the lockdown. So
I
brands are trying to work out what to do.
There's a few retailers actually in the UK that I can think of. Well, one of them is global, but Farfetch would be a very interesting one. Jose, who I could reach out to for you. And another one is Selfridges, who I'm not sure if you're aware, but Selfridges has just turned the whole of the store around so that it's no longer about waste and everything has got to be sustainable in there. And I think by 2021, so so they would be fantastic places for you to be speaking to retailers. So with that in mind, have you thought about the women that are working with you? And you obviously know that I love promoting a B2P environment, where, just for the viewers, B2P means that you are building a business that is B2B and B2C, and you are no longer choosing between one and the other. And interestingly, when I speak to you, I often think about actually the educational side for the women and for the children as well, and teaching them how to run a business for themselves, teaching the kids. Have you considered the educational angle, even teaching the next generation about manufacturing, what it means, how to promote themselves? Have you considered the education side more?
We've never got involved with educating the children or the husbands. My focus has always been with the ladies. But the B2P model, we actually have launched another product that sits in that space that's being developed on our website right now. So it enables the public and the brand, it doesn't matter whether you're a consumer or a business, to come and order garments. So we've automated what I call the manufacturing process. So it enables everybody to deal directly with a manufacturing place, which is, again, a totally new model for clothing manufacturing. And yes, it's like you choose your yarn, choose your style, what do you want, and in 5 weeks you'll get it.
Oh, that's wonderful. Could you give us the website address, please, so that we can promote that?
It's currently being built. It'll be built on our current platform. My current platform is Koco, KOCO.global, and it's being built there. We're still at the back end stages of getting those garments we have to write the patterns and knit them, and it's the photography, it's those last details that just take a long time, but that's coming. That's in the pipeline.
Well, you heard it on LB Presents first, who is launching this, and she has announced it on this channel first.
Yes.
So Danielle, you came into my school in Australia, and I had the absolute pleasure of teaching you in the business school. And I know you've been in the Bob community ever since. And then COVID hit, and we pulled together very quickly, as you know, a webinar series and also an L&D program. And the L&D program is learning and development. It's the L-shaped recession driving into growth. And we're teaching businesses for 18 months how to go through the recession and build their business out again. Could you talk to me about how it's been for you coming through the program, and also what was it like to unite on purpose with other businesses for the campaign day?
The biggest thing about that program was knowing that I was amongst people who are really supportive with businesses that were undergoing massive change, because I think, like everybody else that was impacted greatly, for the first few weeks, I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen now?
I would say 90% of the businesses that were in exactly the same boat. We had people we had a lot of people crying, actually. It was horrendous.
Yeah. And everybody on the whole Bob school, the participants and the people who work at your end have been incredibly supportive. The knowledge shared has been amazing. I can't recommend that enough to anybody.
Oh, and did you, how was it to unite on purpose? Because I know you are one of the businesses that's on the program that is already incredibly purpose driven, whereas there are many businesses on there that are transitioning over to being more purpose driven. So how was that? Because obviously you're further ahead of the game in regard to purpose. How is it kind of you doing the Unite on Purpose and seeing other businesses coming through?
Well, it's very rewarding, and what's really lovely is about like being with like, and everybody knowing together that if anybody's stuck, they can come. I've chatted to lots of people about how to find your purpose. Like, people are curious how I got so involved in this, and I've in trying to do extra income things for myself. I've been coaching people how to find their purpose, just small one-offs during this journey. But being a part of the Bob program and that campaign of finding your purpose, just being among like people, Lindsay, is what keeps everybody holding hands together on the journey to make it worthwhile. Otherwise, people drop off if there's no hands to hold.
Yeah. Do you know, when I listen to you, you're a huge inspiration, not only for actually what I would describe as kickstarting the economy in a country that desperately in an area, never mind a country, but in an area with the women that desperately needed help. But you're also an inspiration for manufacturers. Because I work with many different manufacturers that are not as advanced as you, I have to say, that are still coming out of what I would describe traditional manufacturing.
Yes, very traditional.
And there's definitely a space for you as a spokesperson as well, and actually in and around Bob, I believe, that could really help the manufacturing industry transition over to be a new era of manufacturing. Because I genuinely believe manufacturing has a huge part to play in a new trading economy. And without it, I remember in England when they gave away a lot of their manufacturing, it was a terrible crying shame. Without that, then the economy ends up going to other countries, other areas. And I've always said, wouldn't it be great if we could get manufacturing local again, as well as global, and actually inspire people that manufacturing is a trade and a skill that is something to be harnessed, not something to be looked down on. And I wondered if you had any thoughts on the whole manufacturing side and the future of manufacturing.
I 100% agree with you. And I think the way forward for manufacturing is to, what's going to change is what I call that wholesale model that I think is on its way out. And it's direct to consumer with the manufacturer. And I can definitely help there a lot to streamline products. And, there's an upside and downside to everything in this world. And working in India has been no mean feat. But the upside is that we've learned to make really, really tight systems. And I think one of the things with manufacturing, the reason why they couldn't go directly to the public is because of the volume that they had to produce because of the machinery that they needed. When it's machine manufacturing, we don't face that challenge because it's handmade. But because I'm so involved in the systems, I can still transfer that same knowledge over because the manufacturing companies will need to adapt. They don't need to buy machinery that's as expensive. They don't need to run those massive volumes that create that massive waste. So the industry is definitely needing a major haul over, and we are leading the industry very proudly, I say, in that area.
Well, I don't know if you are aware, but both my grandparents were tailors. My mum was a tailor as well, and my mum worked in a factory at the age of 11. She left school. My grandparents were very poor, Jewish background, and my mum worked in a factory at the age of 11, and she worked on the pockets.
I didn't know that, Lindsay, and same Jewish background. My grandparents, who I'm named after, Danielle, was a tailor.
Oh, well, that was both, and that is why.
In the East End of London, so they probably even knew each other.
That's why I come from a manufacturing background, because
same thing.
Yeah. And so when you talk about the fact that you worked on an individual side, I'm like, my mum worked on the pockets in the factory.
And she became known as the pocket queen. But in today's knowledge, she can...
my mum,
that's a whole other conversation.
Today, she would have been like Alexander McQueen. My mum is the most talented seamstress tailor that you would ever come across. She can make anything, and did as I was growing up as a child. And a lot of my clothes were made by my mum. So as we were growing up.
It's a fantastic industry to come from. Huge respect.
Thank you. So before we finish, I want to give you my Unite on Purpose bag. And hang on, just a second.
Do I need to get mine? Where's mine?
Just a second. Right.
I need to find mine. Hold on. Anyhow, okay.
Right, I'm giving you this bag. And for the day, you're going to go and shift the world into a new era, right?
You and I and everybody else in the Bob School is shifting the entire world, full stop.
There you go. Have you got it? Take
Unite
that.
on Purpose. I've got it. Thank you so much, Lindsay.
Just before you leave, you've got the world in your hands for the day. And the Australian government has gone on holiday and they've said you have the keys. What would you like to do? For one day, you can do anything that you want, Danielle.
Oh my God.
What would you like to do with
That's
your
such
day?
an overwhelming question. My mind goes to a global picture, and then one, of course, right in my industry. The one that's right in my industry, I'll give the analogy first because it's easier to answer. I've been asked lots of weird questions, Lindsay, but that one's actually incredibly thought-provoking. I'm going to use the food analogy.
Okay.
5 or 10 years ago, when you went to the supermarket, there was no organic food and hardly anybody shopped at farmers markets. Now, farmers markets are everywhere. People like to go there because they like to know the farmer. They like to know where their strawberries were grown. In the supermarket, it's gone from having only organic eggs to having a whole row of organic meat, 2 whole rows of organic vegetables, 1 whole row of organic nuts. And I personally have gone from, well, I don't really care, to I won't buy any other eggs unless they're organic. I won't buy a chicken now unless it's organic. And many people I know that because of hormones and everything else.
Of course.
And I believe clothing is on a similar journey with the artisan products. So whilst not many people might have an artisan product in their house, by the time I'm 6 foot under, the artisan industry and the fashion industry will go on exactly that same journey as organic food. That more and more artisan products will be in your house, more and more artisan products will be in your wardrobe, on your back, and you will actually care about that because you will want to know who made it, just as you want to know who grew those strawberries, and you want to know that there was no insecticide on those strawberries. And you want to know that the lady or man, whoever it was that made your clothing, didn't actually have to travel 50 kilometers to work and live in a dormitory and churn out 700 and have no self-esteem whatsoever. And you want to know that those people are leading lives as wholesome as yours.
Oh, thank you. That was the most wonderful, wonderful answer. Thank you so much for coming on LB Presents today. You are a true inspiration to many people, not only the manufacturers that are absolutely having to shift over to 21st century thinking, but a lot of women and men around the world that are building a business, that are looking to shift over to be a purpose-led business. They should absolutely go on and look at your website, your story, and what you're doing. Thank you so much. And
thank you so much, Lindsay. And thanks for having me a part of the Bob School and the L&D program. It's all very inspiring as well. So the inspiration goes both ways.
Oh, thank you. And for people watching LB Presents, every day I am interviewing a person that's coming through Bob, that's part of the Bob Earth platform. And so if you would like to come and find us, then why don't you come onto the Bob Earth platform, and you will find it's the first purpose-led platform that connects businesses all around the world to trade. And hey, you might like to come on and be a founding citizen, and you can get to meet all these people that I'm interviewing on LB Presents. And remember, this is a YouTube channel, so do sign up, because then you will be able to click on the YouTube channel and you will be able to access all of the LB Presents interviews that are taking place every day. And I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going to be interviewing somebody from the UK, so we'll be back to 5 o'clock. But when I'm interviewing somebody from Australia or Asia, then I will be on the early hour of 7:30. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Good morning, good evening, and good night.